private, because we are running short of,
Oh,
So with that, we move on to, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. It was a helpful discussion, and the questions were also very nice, including the one that I asked for. So we have the second lecture, the last lecture of today, and about citizen science. We have been talking about frugal innovation. We have also been discussing that the relationship between, say, the science or scientific organizations and frugal innovation is a bit strenuous. Sort of sometimes you have to go beyond what the mainstream scientific institutions do, like Vibhuti's story yesterday. And then there are these, frugal innovations by the informal sector, where nobody knows where the knowledge is coming from. Do you really call this knowledge a scientific knowledge? And that is essential, because although innovation can be of different types, one major dimension of innovation that we are dealing with in the course is technical innovation. So the question of science comes because, okay, what feeds into this innovation process? What kind of knowledge sources are there for these innovations? So we also wanted to know different ways of doing science, and one of the things that that has come up in a big way these days is the concept of citizen science. And we had an expert in our city on this, Dr. Ashwini Bhaduri. He shares the same surname with me, but we met at a conference discussing, I think, frugality and citizen science only. He's here. He teaches, of course, he's a botanist by training. Come here. He's a botanist by training, and he teaches at the Cluster of Innovation Center at Delhi University. But I think he also draws his inspiration to do citizen science from other sort of aspects of the way he wants to live his life. I mean, he's a trekker, he's a birder, he's a photographer, and he writes fantastic limericks. So, welcome, Ashwini.
thank you.
You have to.
It's solid there. So I have two apologies to make. First one is, there is generally a kind of lecture before lunch. Mine is talk before dinner. So I'll try to be as quick as possible. The second thing is, in this age of Instagram reels, everyone wants to be viral. Unfortunately, my speech literally could be viral today because I am suffering from fever and cold for a few days, so I'll stand back and continue. So I'm sure that all of you are aware with citizen science, but these are some of the topics that we are going to cover. First, we'll start with the definition and challenge, and it's important to know the definition here, and then protocol of science and citizen science, a few examples of citizen science. I think this is probably the only lecture in citizen science in this course. Alternatively, we can say the entire course is also about citizen science, that our definition will also tell us. And then a little bit about citizen science in India, opinion about citizen science in India, and the elephant in the room, if we can say, the citizen science and humanities and social science. So, Wikipedia, I think, can we zoom out a little bit? Maybe some of the headings are not coming, but anyway. If it's possible to zoom out. So Wikipedia, which is itself a kind of a citizen science project, see how it defines citizen science from 2005 to 2025. In 2005, it's saying a project or ongoing program of work which aims to make scientific discoveries or verify scientific hypotheses. 2009, scientific research conducted in whole or in part by amateur and non-professional scientists. Much more specific. 2025, research, not scientific anymore, research conducted with participation from general public, from amateur or amateur non-professional researchers, or participants for science, social science and many other disciplines. And then it adds, there are variation in the exact definition of citizen science, with different individuals and organizations having their own specific interpretations of what citizen science encompasses. So, in the past 15-20 years where citizen science has developed, the definition has changed and it has become big like anything, and there are a few reasons for it, but let's have some more definition. One I really like by Nesta from 2019. Citizen science is any process where scientists and the public process scientific idea or observations. Citizen science volunteers work together to collect or unlock new resources for research, experimentation and analysis by opening the process to everyone. Remember, the process to everyone. Then this G7 science academics, they also came up with a definition around 2017-18. This is also very specific, and they said there are two categories of citizen science. The first one, which is predominant, is a participatory research done by citizens who have not necessarily received training in scientific research. It was this activity that has been historically named citizen science. A second and more recent category of citizen science involved scientifically trained individuals working in isolation or in virtual communities to develop projects outside established controlled environment. Established controlled environment, which may include university, government, industry, research systems, etc. Why this confusion? Because there are so many other terms which are kind of overlapping or maybe including citizen science. Like many of you have heard about crowdsourcing, crowd science, crowd sensing, volunteer monitoring, community-based monitoring, network science, community-based management, open science, participatory science, all are in the same umbrella. And there is no clear-cut definition of any one of it. The second problem with the citizen science definition is who are doing it and how are we going to call them. And this is kind of a cartoon where people have tried to understand that whatever name we give them, there is a problem. If we call them hobbyists or amateurs, they will say, okay, I have worked in this field longer than you. A person who is naturally interested, let's say in horticulture, he will tell a horticultural scientist that, okay, you know about only your fruit. I know about 20 or maybe 200 fruits. Similarly, there will be a community members or volunteers. Volunteers will say, okay, I am only the volunteer or I am participating. So these things have complicated the kind of definition of citizen science. So it's probably better we go for a simple definition of citizen science to start with. So that we can probably say that citizen science is a public participation in research. Forget science, forget anything. Public participation in research where there is a documentation, observation, interpretation, other things. So what is the public that they are going to do? They will document and they will understand, and they will then engage with the research scientist. So this is the first time that a public, any general person can probably have some kind of decision making in policy issues. It will be not left to only the bureaucrats or politicians or so-called senior scientists. But then what is the need for citizen science? I mean, there are so many institutes that we all know that we live in a post-truth era, which I call the post-truth era world of post-normal science. Why? Here the facts are uncertain, values are in dispute, stakes high, and we need to make urgent decisions. Okay, let's have some examples. Genetic engineering. Now Europe, we are talking about Europe, India. In America, almost everything is GMO, genetically modified crop. Europe is very strict that, okay, we are not going to go for GMOs. What about India? We allow some, we don't allow some, and actually we don't know there are reports of genetically modified brinjals being produced in many fields of Punjab. There are reports of genetically modified fish in southern parts of India. Nobody knows for sure because it's India. Anyway, but similarly, there is nanotechnology, 3D printing, where we have to take this urgent decision. And in this post-truth world, we generally don't believe anyone say. You are also not going to believe whatever I'm saying. That's okay. That's perfect. Another thing which I say that citizen science is important, that science communication is becoming abysmal, and maybe citizen science could be a part of science communication. Why I say that? Just think about India. Earlier we were really bad about science communication. Our scientists were in the lab. I also come from a CSIR lab. We never bothered to go to public with our work. Okay. Now the exact opposite is happening. Anyone even publishing let's say one paper, immediately it goes into the media, including social media. So this is again creating a kind of a problem. But again, coming back to the topic of citizen science, what are the advantages and disadvantages? So as I have said, that citizens once informed on a topic, they are probably able to communicate their own feelings about it. I can say whether I will have a GMO crop or not once I know about it, once I know the pros and cons about it. It's not only government will decide, okay, BT brinjal is allowed, corn oil is not allowed. Why the government will make some decision? I should make my own decision. Again, CSS, what about the data quality, data accuracy, and completeness? Anyone is, you're making anyone a scientist. So there will be falsification of data. We already have, so many retraction. Watch every day, hundreds of papers have been retracted. So this kind of falsification of data will also lead to many retracted papers probably, and many years of serious works by researcher will also come into it. So, but then some people also say that, like all of us are in part of with some WhatsApp groups. In almost every WhatsApp group there are moderators. They moderate sometimes they throw you out of the group if you are too much. Okay. Similarly, in all citizen science projects there are moderators and owners. So they will also moderate your data. They will question your data, and the quality of data collected by volunteers on a project by project basis has been seen that it is as reliable as data collected by professionals. So that is that. Now we were talking, Shardindra and me, that what about the protocol of science? Did citizen science follow the protocol of science? Did we break it? Yes and no. Citizen science has to follow a certain kind of protocol because they need a proper data quality and consistency. So they will have a data collection method, quality control, reporting format, training and education. But no, because CS is not a typical lab based project. Okay. So we are carrying out projects outside established control environments. So here our government or bureaucracy is not dictating that you have to do this project. Like many of us are in scientific institute. In university we have a little bit of freedom. In institute you do not have that even freedom for choosing your research problem. Sometimes they will give, okay, this is the bacteria you have to work with, this is the protein set you have to work with, this is the country you have to work with, right? So that is not there in citizen science. And citizen science can build an epistemic trust. Again, coming to that post-truth world, we don't believe anything, right? We don't believe anything anymore, even to our parents. So, but when we are participating in a project, we are understanding that project and we are building that trust. Okay, so this is important, we need this data, this is how we are going to get it. So citizen science is very important in today's science, and that's why it's also very important for science communication, that it builds an epistemic trust. And another advantage, the protocol can be tweaked. In a normal, let's say a DNA isolation, you cannot tweak the protocol so much. But if you say, okay, let's collect and let's talk about all the plants in JNU, we are going to tag all the plants in JNU, and we can start the plants in flowering season. We can say, okay, no, we'll start in March. So nobody tells us when to start. So citizen science has this advantage of, tweaking the protocols and even divide the group. So somebody could be interested in plants, somebody could be interested in tagging, somebody could be interested in, social media report. So citizen science gives us that advantage of even dividing the participants. So let me give some examples of citizen science, but before that I want to ask, have any one of you joined any citizen science project ever? No. Created any citizen science project? No. Maybe. So maybe you can start with this two, go to this two websites. One is Zooinverse and SciStarter. There are so many citizen science projects from all over the field, and you can just start and join any one of them, or even if you don't join, just browse through it, so you'll get some idea. But to start with, just like I said, that there are many different terms, and community monitoring is there. A classic example was the post Fukushima Japan. Japan government, they are much better government than most of the government in the world, that is, there's no doubt about it. But the citizens were not happy with their radiation data and how they were collecting the radiation data. They were afraid that much more radiation has reached in different parts of Japan. So they started their own radiation data. They started finding different kind of measurement devices, created them, and they provided them with the common public, so that what kind of radiation level is there. This is a classic recent example of a community based monitoring, which was not kind of, it started with not a protest to the government. It started with a kind of, you can say, apprehension about the government's effort, but it actually helped the government. So whenever they produce certain areas where they felt that their radiation is high, the government took action. Let's take some more example. Very well known, as you can see, it's more than 2 billion observation and with more than 500,000 species observed. This is called iNaturalist. This is the world's biodiversity in one website. Whoever is, whether it's we are in Netherlands, Japan, Costa Rica, Borneo, whoever is going somewhere, observing, taking photographs, we will just submit our image. There are people who will tell us, okay, this could be in this category. They will probably identify if something is rare. People will point out. As you can see, literally millions of people all over the world are participating, and most of them are not biological scientists. They don't know much about biodiversity as such. They are not taxonomists. They just like, they have seen something, maybe a butterfly, maybe a flower, maybe a snail, maybe a snake, and it gives importance. And I'll tell you why this is important. For the past 2-3 years, in many of my social network groups, in WhatsApp group, I found the mention of a snake called yellow-bellied sea snake in different coasts of India. And I took help of some of my students, and we collected the data from iNaturalist and some of the other portals, and found there is a very high reportage of yellow-bellied sea snake from 2015 onwards in India. And we are still not so sure whether, because many people are having phones right now, and so that they are reporting it more, or somehow because of some climatic change, this snake is coming here. But why this snake is important? This is a very venomous snake, and there is no anti-venom, and this snake is being reported now in almost all the mainstream beaches in India, from Goa to Bakhali in West Bengal. So at least we should be having some kind of warning or something from the government side also. And I wrote it to some of the herpetologists, and this wrote back that yeah, we should do it immediately, because we don't know. We actually also don't know the answer. So that is the power of citizen science. So it is also, it's not only observation, it is also coming for our safety. Some more example. This is again another big portal, eBird, collection of birds. So everyone is kind of posting whoever has seen what kind of birds, and then we get a result. So this is the purple thing are the house sparrows all over the world. Our state bird is Delhi state bird is sparrow, but as you can see the same sparrow is there all over the world. So now we are actually finding out the migration pattern of birds. Earlier, people used to tag, ring the birds. Some of you may have heard. Now we even don't need to ring the birds. We can see when they are coming from North America to South America, or southern India to northern India, or Europe to India, let's say. Not only in biology, because biodiversity has taken up citizen science in a big way, but so is astrophysics. The only other field that can compete with biology in citizen science has been astrophysics, and they are taking their, because there are so many telescopes and thousands of images. Scientists have only a little bit time, and all of us will have these glasses after a while. So they have opened up, and people, amateur people, students, they are finding galaxies. Can you imagine? This citizen science is fishing for jellyfish galaxies. I never heard the name of jellyfish galaxies. So now people are even finding them. They have defined it. So there is this science and communication of science. So they are saying, okay, this is the jellyfish galaxy. This may look like this in this kind of images. Now you have thousands of images, find out. Simple as that. Once you have suspected something, then let's say the scientist or the research scholar, they will say, okay, yes, you are right. What about literature? Yes, there are. This was one project called Shakespeare's World, and this was a collaboration between the Folger Shakespeare Library in Washington with and Zoo Inverse from Oxford. So what they did, that they had many manuscripts and letters during in and around Shakespeare's lifetime, and they wanted people to kind of decipher the letters, what they are writing, what is the language, what they are talking about, and it also became a successful project. So as you can see, from science to literature, there are citizen science. Of course, there are more citizen science in scientific field than humanities and social science, but that will come later. Another example before I go to the different topic is this. This is a company called Tom Node, which deals with satellite images. And during the Malaysian Airlines tragedy, they also opened up the satellite images to everyone, and thousands of people from literally all over the world were searching for this debris, whether they could find anything in the sea. And they have used it from Genghis Khan tomb to displaced refugee population in Somalia, seals in Antarctica. So this is something, can you imagine a person sitting in Africa is actually locating a seal in Antarctica? This is only possible because of citizen science. So kind of, if we move to the next section, as you can see, citizen science can increase community resilience. A classic example of Fukushima disaster. And this can be a new mode of science communication, and which often enlarges the population of science aware citizens, which we need more and more. And it can be increased and extremely useful in case of emergency. And I often call that citizen science is the actual diplomat. We have doctors without borders. Citizen science is the science without borders, right? And then we should have the opportunity to think beyond our disciplinary boundaries. Sorry. So now moving to the next part of our lecture, that is citizen science in India. So do we have our own citizen science project? Yes, plenty of them right now, but there is a but. We'll talk about the but soon. So before that, we asked a few years back some of our colleagues in academia in India how they view or how they participate in citizen science, and they all agreed about the outcome of CS projects, and approximately half of them said that it contributes to society, and then contribution to science and social interaction also increases. They, I think I skipped one slide, sorry, it's missing somehow. Okay, so we also asked them that if you endorse citizen science, which of the option best suits the reason, and approximately 40% of them said that removing barrier between scientist and common public. And if you do not endorse, one of the main reason was, poor knowledge level of participant, the same worrying about the volunteer and their level, and approximately, difficulty in mobilizing target group, can be done in my field, there is no method of regulation in citizen science. These are the apprehensions. But coming back to this, the more I ask, and I'll show the example, and this is some of the examples of citizen science from India which are very popular, running very successfully over the years. There is literally a dearth of citizen science project in India from humanities and social science. So from the next, after a few slides, we are going to ask, and I actually asked this question almost 7 years back at CSSP only, that why there are so many less citizen science from humanities and social science. Some people reacted, but now the whole world is actually asking the same question. And this is not an India specific phenomena, this has become a world specific phenomena. There are less projects in humanities and social science, but we need them. We'll talk to that. So some of the, just for your information, this was one of the first citizen science project called Citizen Sparrow, because suddenly we realized this, we cannot see sparrows anymore. Now we know there are different kind of reasons. We don't have this blinds or holes in our houses anymore where they can nest. But then there are mapping, Big Four. What is Big Four? We should know. See, the maximum amount of death by snake bite in the world happens in India, and we don't talk about it. We talk about everything from Mars to Palestine to everything, but we don't talk about, we talk about subalterns and marginalized. Maximum number of subaltern and marginalized die because of snake bite. We don't talk about it. And so one project has thankfully is being started. This is mapping different kind of snake bites and where these big fours are seen. Big fours are these 4 snakes: Indian cobra, common krait, saw-scale viper, Russell viper. These are the big fours. Then we have a e-mammal project. We have e-birds India version. We have biodiversity atlas. We have dragonfly South Asia, season watch. I'll talk a little bit about season watch. This was conceived way back, I think 10-12 years back, and this is a classic example of how good a citizen science project can be. So we all talk about climate change, and there are 2 groups in the world, from politician to scientist: pro climate change, anti climate change. The anti climate change actually are denial of climate change. Okay, so for this, but what are the proofs? Unless and until we see something at our face value, we don't say okay, this is happening. So this project tried to see whether there are seasonal changes every year or maybe every other month in a tree, whether it's budding or flowering. Is it flowering in the same month? And this is not in the controlled horticultural condition, this is in the natural condition. Are they flowering in the same month, same date every year? They used to, before the climate change. Are they doing it now? We are not so sure. So this project collects different kind of information from people, and as you can see, there are different kind of common trees to different specific regional trees also. We have different observations, and we can just select one tree and see when it's flowering, when it's fruiting, when the leaves are shading, all these things. So this is a classic example of how we can build a climate change project using simple public observation. Another very wonderful and beautiful project, sometimes visually attractive things are good. we have a lot of butterflies, you know, and we don't kind of recognize that India is actually very highly biodiversity rich, even after we have kind of killed all of our forests and natural habitats. So this butterflies of India, it talks about different butterflies, and you can also submit your observations, and they have the news related to butterflies. And I think they recently we also had a vote for the national butterfly of India from this group. So these are some examples of different citizen science project. Now coming back to this, as you can see here, for the past almost 4-5 years from 2020, there is a Citizen Science India conference that is going on. But what is the unfortunate thing? I'll say an unfortunate thing. The Citizen Science India, they are saying it's citizen science for biodiversity. So they have kind of specifically made a niche. Now we can argue, okay, there are not so many citizen science in other fields. If biodiversity is more, so we should have our own conference. And there are organizations also which are coming up in India. There is this organization, Center for Citizen Science. I think it's a voluntary organization. It's a Pune based organization, and they are working on mostly weather related, geography related citizen science projects. Okay, so they have their own citizen science projects related to weather and other things. So these things are coming. Okay, so we can always say that how to make a citizen science project. So we should choose problem unique to India, make simple and clear objective, maintain a time frame, and connect with interested people. But that takes us to the elephant in the room again. That is the humanities and social science and citizen science. I'll start with an entirely different kind of example. You all have our census studies. When it was held last time? 2011. 14 years back. Don't we need any kind of data for any kind of our humanities, social science kind of experiment, you can say study? We need human population of data. Are we going to relate and take everything from the 2011 data in 2025? No, right? What are you doing? What are you doing? There is no answer. I have asked the same thing to many people. Nobody has answered clearly. So can we create our own citizen science project to at least, we can go for maybe a census on ourselves, but we can do some kind of specific question related that we need and make it a citizen science project. So there are many theories, these are some of my thoughts, and we can discuss after this talk. I'll quickly try to finish. One maybe it's that the typical ego kind of thing. We have already named it citizen science. So why we are the humanities and social science? We are better than you. We are like English literature is the best thing in the world. So no citizen science. We don't. Why should we follow them? But now you can see the Wikipedia definition also. It is also saying social science, right? And another argument is it's probably not required in humanities and social science. Really? No. Unable to design project that could be participatory in nature? No, we continuously do this kind of surveys. Social science people, social work people, they go and talk to people. They do actually participatory kind of nature. The gap between science and humanities is only increasing. Yes, the main problem is just like we were talking in this during tea. The idea of citizen science was that we should broaden this niche. We should have more interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, and we put these words in our all policy documents: multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary. But we remain in our own cocoon. We don't even talk to a person who may be kind of equally versed in some other field also. It's other thing that those kind of people are slowly becoming less. I know for like, you know, in DU, Professor Muralidhar was a person who had, you know, 30,000 books, and although he was a biologist, he could easily talk about either Sanskrit or philosophy or English literature at ease. Similarly, we had maybe in JNU only when Satyajit Ray can speak of, you know, in anything. But this kind of people are less, and we are also interacting with them much less. That could be one reason, I don't know. But again, there is a disjoint and distrust between different streams. Within a stream, do you think that mathematics and in DU, we have a mathematics department, we have a statistics department, we have a physics department, we have a I think operational research department. I don't think any single faculty member from one department interacts with any other faculty member. This is one of the reason. I think that could be one of the reason in humanities and social science also. And it's not only I am speaking. Now people all over the world are also actually thinking in this line, and maybe some of us can discuss, and maybe you can also throw some light why you think it's happening. Despite the huge potential of collecting innovative large-scale data, social science research projects which experiment with the idea of citizen science are still hard to find. Difficulties in mobilizing target groups, the relation between human observation and data quality, ethical questions, these kind of things are also argued. Another argument is, this is one paper from Helibron in 2017. They said that such preponderant epistemological orientation in citizen science practice towards the natural science paradigm is coupled with an enduring controversy over the legitimacy of SSH and its academic status, and a growing turn of the interest among research funding schemes and institutions to be more technocratic frame goals and procedures in scientific inquiry. And this is kind of true, because we know we are seeing transformation in universities into business managerial enterprises with a technocratic orientation. People are asking, why should we have this humanities course? Why should we have this language course? People are asking. But that may not be the only thing, because you know social science and humanities still face considerable barriers. But within social science field also, slowly citizen science are gaining popularity, and people are coming up with projects which could be implemented and could be helpful for everyone. So I'll just give one example. We talk about our freedom movement, Swadeshi movement, and whether you like the revolutionaries, whether you like the non-violent, that's a separate issue. But it happened, and this is one of the probably a citizen science or citizen humanities social science movement. We talked about our domestic cottons. We talked about spinning khadi and charkha, and this became a symbol. It led to establishment of cotton mills such as the Bangla mill in Calcutta and Swadeshi mill in Nagpur. It established a national college and technical institute in Calcutta at that time. You know, it was against the colonialism, but we developed our own another college and technical institute, and we established 51 national school in Bengal at that time. So this is, we can say, one of the first experiment we did with citizen social science, which we have kind of forgotten about. We did a small work with the Delhi weekly market. Those who are familiar with Delhi, we have this, you know, Mangal Bazaar, Budh Bazaar. So we suddenly wanted to do something about them, and we wanted to have some, you know, inventory, and we couldn't find any information. In fact, we couldn't find any information about this haats or bazaars, this informal markets, but they are there in India, all over India from thousands of years. Can you imagine, when we were writing this paper, we were not finding a reference? How pathetic is that? There is something going on for thousands of years and there is no reference. And since our paper has come, people are taking this as a reference for all sorts of things in, you know, markets and informal markets. So we did a Hafta Bazaar is a weekly market in a particular day for buying daily use articles, and in Delhi there are all over these markets were spread, and we created the Hafta Bazaar map of Delhi, where over 250 Hafta Bazaars were mapped, and even the Delhi MCD had no record. We filed RTI to different zones of MCDs, and they said 1 or 2 replied that yes, we have this 10-12 markets, we know. That's it. So we took help from, common citizens, our friends, relatives, maids, and we came up with this map of Hafta Bazaars of Delhi, and we made it an interactive map. We thought about, we can promote it as tourism also, and we did some also research. Our center is basically undergraduate research. Now we are having PhD students also. So this, at even the undergraduate level, they could do some study. They could see the migration pattern about these vendors. They created different kind of route maps, and a few students took up specific Hafta Bazaars like a Mahila Bazaar. There is a woman centered and woman run market in Delhi. There is other one is in, anyone knows, in Manipur, Ima Kaithal, that is entirely woman run market. There is a very small scale but same woman run market in Delhi, and it could be a tourist attraction also. So this is just an example. So I'll leave with a few examples that we can do. In UK they have started a project called Empty House project. In UK, as many of you know, the price, like in Delhi also, skyrocketed. There is no place for people to live. So they are trying to find those spaces which are being vacant for long. Whether we can have something, we can put people there, we can record them, we can contact the owner, what is the issue. So they have started a project like Empty House. And what about India? In Uttarakhand, again 2011 census, उसके बाद हमारे पास कोई data नहीं है, we don't have any data. So there were approximately 1000 ghost villages, and this number is anywhere from 3000 to 5000. This only comes in newspaper when there is an election and say, okay, in these 5 villages there is no polling booth. So because of many issues, one of the common thing in migration, can you imagine, Uttarakhand is not very big state. More than 3000 villages are now empty, ghost villages. Can we do something about it? Can we track them down? Can we make a citizen science project? Can we take 1 or 2 villages and make them tourist destination, make a ecotourism impact? And this is not a classical science project. This is a humanities project. What are these people doing? And I talked to a few people because this generally haunts me. I trekked to so many parts in Uttarakhand. Some of the people say from these villages that once 70-80% people leave that village, it becomes impossible for the other 20-30% to stay back, because the wildlife starts coming back, okay, and it becomes difficult. So this is something again going on. So I'll just end with a few thought for everyone. So can we create a citizen science undertaking to enable the integration of knowledge system for different communities? Again, I'll give a classic example. All of us remember the tsunami, right? Many people died. In India also, official figure is 10,000, which could be maybe 3 times, 4 times than that. In Andaman Nicobar also many people died. Not a single, I repeat, not a single indigenous Andamani tribe people died. Not a single indigenous Andamanese people died. There were settlers, Bengali settlers, Punjabi settlers, Tamil settlers, Sri Lanka settlers, they all died. Not a single indigenous people died. You can also talk to Anvita Abbi. She is, very well-known linguist, and she worked a lot on Andaman. She also told me that same story. Why? Some of them were fishing and they saw some fish which were unusual. The first time they were seeing, or maybe after 100 years they were seeing. They came back. Some of them were in the sea. They saw different kind of wave pattern. They came back. Some of them could hear different responses from birds and animals. They came back. So all the indigenous tribe people, from whether it's Onges or Jarvas, all of them went back to highland. This is the common indigenous traditional knowledge we miss. Okay, so we can probably capture something like that. And now there is a very importance of traditional knowledge we are talking about, but this is a classical example. That out of probably 10,000, 15,000 people in all over India, and probably 2,000-3,000 in Andaman, not a single Andamanese indigenous person died. There is something to learn about it. So maybe can we create a citizen science project for thousands of untranslated manuscripts? I remember Vivek Devroy, who passed away, well-known economist and also a Limerick person. That's how I know him. He once was in a lecture. He told, there are manuscripts about, about thieves, how to steal, what not to steal, what to do. So who will know about these manuscripts? And they will dust away in some old building and damp room, and then they will go. Or they will be collected in some kind of a national archive where nobody will see in the next maybe 500 years. Can we open them up? Can we just digitize them and tell people, whoever knows something about them, and then translate? If they can have Shakespeare's literature, why should not we have this kind of, we have so many manuscripts. We have national archives now. Can we create a lost water bodies project? Nowadays we probably do not have even 50 water bodies in Delhi. Do you know the number just 25 years back? Guess? 600. So there were 600 water bodies in Delhi NCR only. Now we have less than 50. And the process is same all over India. They will come someday, they will dump some garbage, and it's our nature, if there is somebody is dumping some garbage, we will also dump our garbage. And then suddenly one night you will see some sands and mud is also put there. So after few months the water body will dry down. Then after again few months, in some night a truck will come, put some sand, and in a few years time it will become a football or cricket ground. After 2-3 years, suddenly you will see there is a building. This is the process all over India. Everybody knows. Nobody can do anything about it. But maybe we can do. Now we have GIS, right? We can access to the satellite data 30-40 years back. We can catch them. We can pinpoint those areas and tell them. There is a hue and cry. You must have seen then in Calcutta, like with the building, there was a building which tilted. Because what? Because that was there in a shallow land. I will give you another classical example. Most of the recent airports are being built in the shallow lands, and you will see every other year some airport is, rain has come, there is waterlogged airport. You will see every other year, because we have made our airports recently in this water bodies. So probably we can create this kind of a project. So I'll leave there only, and maybe we can discuss. And I actually want to know why you think that there are less citizen science projects in humanities and social science. Whether it's our approach, or do you actually think that it is not suitable? I am still, it was a question that I posed way back 7 years back. I still have the same question with no clear-cut answer. Thank you.
Can I start the question answer session with a question?
Yes.
Because I think it's a very interesting aspect of quadruple helix, how the public gets engaged with the question of knowledge generation. But to connect it to sort of what we have been discussing more about frugality, etc., and something that we haven't discussed enough is Jugaad. Do you see a connection between Jugaad and citizen science?
Yes.
Yeah. Your thoughts?
So Jugaad and citizen science is because some of these citizen science projects require certain things. Like I'll give a classic example. Just happened recently. I was there in a part of Arunachal called Vijayanagar. It's surrounded by Myanmar. It's almost inaccessible till that there is a barter system. Trucks go there. They produce this cardamom elaichis, and instead they buy those all the utensils and garments, everything. So there was one Pradhan, they call them Gaon Bura. He was very interested in all the biodiversity. We went for a recently discovered bird, Risu rain bubbler. So he was showing us different places, and he said, I don't have a camera, I don't have money for my camera, my phone is not good. And thankfully, just a few weeks before that, I bought a small lens which can be attached with a phone. It is a macro lens. I gifted him that lens in the Christmas. He was so happy, and this is a jugaad for him as well as for me. He do not have the camera, but he will now probably produce some beautiful images of many biodiversity there, which we still don't know, because the Vijayanagar biodiversity is still unexplored in India. So sometimes, yes, jugaad can, because jugaad is integral part of India. So jugaad can be you can say a tool or a part of citizen science, yes. Sometimes if we think that whether if we go for a product based citizen science project, can we thinking of jugaad? Yes, maybe, but then it will vary. I remember I really highly admire a girl in Gujarat. She got a prize for the innovation. It's a very simple innovation. In her school, the taps were high and at the same level, and it's the same thing in many places in India. She said the taps should be at different level. A simple thing. Yes, there are girls who are of this height and this height, maybe a class 4 and class 8 girls. So her school obliged, and they made the taps of. So this is a jugaad, but classic innovation. Isn't it innovation, or is it only jugaad? This is a necessary. So sometimes this definition is also very blurred in India. What is jugaad? What is frugal innovation? What is innovation? And I still remember we thought about writing a paper. What is citizen science? And we discussed, and we couldn't find an answer. And then Shazunda said, okay, what is not citizen science? so that thing is still there. I mean, that's why there are so many definitions. People are still, after so many years of citizen science, people are still not sure about the definition. But definitely, to answer your question, yes, jugaad can be a part of citizen science, definitely.
So, thank you so much, Dr. Bhadri. It was an amazing presentation. I have two questions, and maybe which can relate to the question which you have asked. Till the point people are interested, our citizens are interested in finding and reporting, I'm all for it. The problem arrives, and here I'm also trying to compare it with another field, which is citizen journalism, which we have seen because of YouTube and other vlogging activities, social media. Citizen journalism increased when the credibility of mainstream media declined, and as citizens journalism further increased, it further diminished the credibility of mainstream media. Now compare this with the science. Let's say citizen science goes beyond finding and reporting, and it gains attraction, and it starts diminishing the credibility of mainstream science, quote unquote. Why? Again, because in today's world, especially in the field through social media, the kind of science communication we are getting, you have mentioned somewhere fake science and ill-informed science, right? It is in abundance now. So let's say till finding and reporting a particular incidence or even some phenomena, all well, fine, astrophysics, botany, everything is fine. But when it goes in the domain of, let's say, medicine, traditional medicine, but it negates, let's say, the modern medicine, right? Or it goes in the field of superstition, tantra, mantra, etc., and it is predominantly the communication is there, right? How exactly you will assess that part, comparing it here, and also about the credibility part of citizen science? And this is where I think maybe one reason it's not that increasing in social sciences and humanities, maybe because there you have to have multiple perspectives. Finding just reporting it won't cut. So
Yeah, very good. So first of all, there are two things. One is the credibility. They are finding and reporting, yes, but there are much more stringent action in science in certain cases than even humanities and social sciences. So what is happening is, although earlier the scientists, the mainstream scientists were kind of they were thinking, okay, what is this citizen science? It may not be a proper science, but now even mainstream scientists are actually creating their own citizen science project, because they have understood that in certain cases they can acquire more data, they can acquire actually more result. I'll give you classical example of this. Astronomy. The astrophysics has used citizen science immensely. I mean, that is the only field that is comparing with biodiversity. So parameters, yes, but just like I gave that example that every social media has a moderator. So here in every citizen science community there is a moderator. Like for eBird also, eBird India, there is no classical one Indian moderator. There is a moderator in every region. There is a moderator for Delhi, there is a moderator for UP, there is a moderator for Assam, there is a moderator for Arunachal. Every day he or she is seeing all the data is coming, and if they think this bird is not, immediately you will get a mail or SMS saying, please show us the details of this observation, show us a photograph if you have. Sometimes they are very strict. So some of the successful citizen science projects are very strict actually, number one. Number two, this has come in a different way, that people who are participating in citizen science, maybe they are also having their own importance, so they are also becoming more serious. So spurious thing will also come. So there are so many retractions, so that we cannot say that okay, all Indians or Asian researchers are bad researchers because there are so many retraction from India or Asia. We cannot say that. Similarly, so there could be false reports of citizen science. Yes, we have also seen that, but we have seen when a person is participating, sometimes it is coming from their interest, or during the process he or she is learning, and in this learning they are taking it much more sincerely. So the data credibility, that was thought in the 80s 90s. Nobody talks about the data credibility anymore, and there are enough papers which have shown that data collected by general public is as good as data collected by research scholars. I know some of you will say, oh, but it's actually true. Second part, when it comes to certain cases, whether it's a mumbo jumbo or a highly classified field as medical field, certain cases there will not be a citizen science. We cannot say, okay, show me your x-ray and everyone. We will have some kind of that. I'll give one example. Earlier it was almost impossible to go for an online doctor consulting in India, but COVID showed that it is okay, it is possible, we have to do it, right? Similarly, online teaching. After COVID, many so-called online thing came. So a citizen science in medicine will probably be there, where a group of doctor will consult in online, but it will never be that anyone is commenting on a drug or a let's say a X-ray or an MRI. That is not going to happen. So citizen science projects are very much specific in that extent. And as far as some other things are concerned, which could be superstitious, most of the cases those kind of projects will not be important. There are projects in citizen science which are very much successful, so many people who are involved, and there are projects nobody talks about. There could be different reason, but one reason could be this, that if you are thinking about making a citizen science, let's say we'll make a citizen science of how many booths are there in India, how many ghosts are there in India, Yes, it could be fun for few months, but it will not work. Okay.
Questions? Sorry, you? You were asking? Okay, because you have asked some questions, let me give it to Nazia first, then come back to you.
Okay. So my question is, most of the examples that you gave us, it was the first time that I heard a lecture on citizen science, so I have no background in it.
Yeah.
Let me be very clear first. So most of the examples that you gave were about collecting data. And I don't see I cannot think how citizens can contribute more than that in any project, whether be it social science or sciences. And in social sciences, you ask the question that why don't we have a citizen social science? In social sciences, we collect a lot of data, and these people that we are saying that they are part of the project, they are actually our responders. So maybe we are contacting a lot of people, but we call them our sample.
Yes.
And if the size of the project increases, let's say if we have a lot of fun and we are talking about rest of India, the whole of India, or maybe the project is a big project where we have to collect a lot of data, maybe then we might be able to include a lot of people.
Yes.
But generally we don't call it citizen science. We just say that we are collecting data.
Yeah.
So there is a limit to how much citizens can contribute.
Yeah. So
And
that
they
is
can
one
also
perspective.
not be independent scientists. They can never be. There could there be an example where a citizen scientist is independent, not working with any expert?
In the sense?
So they can contribute to a limited extent,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they help in data collection, but they are not able to make sense of the data. They are not able to make any other analysis.
No. It is not. That the entire concept is this, that all the citizen science projects are open source projects. The data, and so there is. I'll come to your question. I'll start with something entirely different. If I have time, 2-3 minutes. Sure. I don't know how many of you have heard about eLife. eLife is a journal, very well known journal. It was started by some Nobel laureates who thought that the classical publication technique it's very biased. It's Western based, biased, top heavy, and financially. So they said, no, we are going to get out of this system. We'll create a open source system where we'll have proper reviews and we'll not go for that kind of biased kind of responses. They started with that, and now they are saying we are not going to even accept or reject a paper. So they are changing the field of publication entirely. Maybe after 10 or 15 years, all the other journals will follow through. They are saying we are not going to accept or reject any paper. Here is your paper. Here are the comments from reviewers, public, open to everyone. So coming to that, citizen science is opening in that way. And citizen science doesn't mean that a participant is only contributing the data. If I know today that this yellow-bellied sea snake is there, and tomorrow me and my daughter is going to a beach where this snake can come, and although docile it can bite it and there is no antivenom, it is our duty to talk to all the different forest departments or department who regulates the fisheries to have some kind of a warning in the beach. This comes, it's not about collecting data, it's the information. We all, whether it's a qualitative data or quantitative data, we all are gathering some kind of a data or information. And let me give this example. I give the example of manuscripts. Thousands of manuscripts are lying there. Nobody knows what will happen to them. Nobody knows what could be the translation. And there are people. If we can take them, it's not possible for a person sitting in Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu to come to Delhi every day and National Archive. If we can take this manuscript to their laptop or phone now, they can probably translate. So there are different aspects. So yes, this question is, people are asking whether citizen science is only, but as I have said, sometimes we do not have data and we do not believe the data. Do we believe all the data that our societies and so-called organizations are giving. Every other day there is a fight. In newspaper editorials, we are fighting, no, we don't believe this data, that is spurious data. So we are saying in one way we are saying, we don't believe that data, and in another way we are saying, no, we should do with this data only. So citizen science will create the own data, which can be an alternate data, which is there in clash. It's in recording, so I probably cannot say certain things here, but let's say there is a census for a particular animal. Okay, there is a census and we have some kind of a data. So now in 1 year or in 1 decade, we have used all the adult animals, and we have showed that this is the number of that animal. In another year, we have included even the 1 year small animals also, and we are saying this is the data. So maybe we are showing a huge increase, but which could not be that big an increase. There the citizen science comes, because now we don't believe anything. So we also don't believe a so-called a scientist data or government data, institute data. So citizen science is a perfect alternative data creating machine, you can say. And yes, there are things where it's not only about data, it's about participation, it's about policy. Do anyone talk to you about any kind of food that you are eating? Do any government comes and questions you? Come on, we are living in Delhi. The pollution to water, these are never the issue in our elections. But once we have this kind of a data, I remember 5-6 years back, many mothers came up in the roads of Delhi with their child. They said, this is not, this is inhabitable. I remember many diplomats left Delhi, right? But still we are in the same case. Why? Because we are not having those data where we can actually hurt the person in authority. So if you talk about data, yes, we actually need more data from citizen science. But yes, there are projects which can go beyond data.
Yeah, and somebody is collecting the data, but that doesn't mean that somebody else can make an interpretation out of the data. And that's what is happening in the publishing world. In fact, he referred to those publication models where people are now saying we don't even editors have no role, right? Reviewers will say whatever the comments are, and it will be there, kept there. So there are these models that are coming up. That's partly because the gatekeeping has not been done properly. So the gatekeepers are insufficient in their capacity, or as we discussed in the first lecture, there are different modes of knowing that guides these things. So there are interests that guide certain actions. Then there are ideologies that guide certain other actions. And maybe there is a role of citizen science there in sort of moderating these different kinds of ways of doing. I remember in the field of say baby food is a very classic example where the gatekeepers of knowledge have changed their position quite a few times, even within a decade or two.
Yeah.
Baby food was banned, baby food came back, they got banned again, and so on. Now, how do you really trust such ways of gatekeeping? And how do you compare it with a more fragile, as you can see, perhaps, a gatekeeping process in citizen science? So it's a debate. It will continue.
Yeah.
And I think the role of technology, the role of experts' knowledge, the issue of affordability, accessibility, inclusion are all important in that regard to shape the discourse on citizen science. I sort of came here and tried to sort of summarize the session, partly because I have been also told that we have to disperse now for the next event that is waiting for us, because people who have cooked the food are sort of becoming a bit desperate. Right? So thank you very much. Of course.